Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be running through everything that's going to be coming to Disney Plus in the US in December, also a bit about the UK one as well. We'll be talking about the Godmother trailer. We'll also be talking about some movies potentially moving over to Disney Plus. And we've got tons of reviews. There's so much that's been released this week. New Mandalorian, the Right Stuff finale. We've also got Marvel 616, whole tons of its pieces. We're going to get into all of that. But before we go any further, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon and our YouTube channel memberships, which include Sarah, Darren, Lauren, The Juice, What's on Netflix, Joshua, and Andrew. And I just get a big thank you for Sarah for all of your support this week. And also this morning, I woke up and when I checked on the YouTube, we have gone over 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. So a thank you to everyone that subscribed over there. Continue to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Now we're on the countdown to the big one. But yeah, so 50,000 subscribers that has been quite a milestone. I've been kind of going towards for months, and it's like, yes, so there we go. But yeah, so big thank you for all of that. So let's jump into the news. So first off, we've got this very late. This was much later than we normally get it. We normally get this around about the 15th. It was the 20th. So let's jump into what's coming to Disney Plus. Now, this is based on the US. Now, obviously, things can change depending on your region. So December the 4th, we've got Anastasia, which I know seems to be a very popular animated movie from Fox that people are really excited about, which seems to be getting people's attention. We're going to be getting Big Sharks Rule, Man versus Shark, the Nutcracker and the Four Realms, Sky High. So that's the library content. Anything from there catch your eye?
Anastasia, or however you pronounce it. I have never seen that. So
I've never seen it either. No, it's. I know it's got that song. Is it Kate Winslet? Is she? I think that's.
I don't even know what song's associated with it, but I have heard good things about it. The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. I never saw that one. So
it's actually a really good Christmas movie. We watched it when it came out. Was it last year? No, it must have been the year before. And me and my wife, we really enjoyed it. It's a proper Christmas movie. Yeah, I think it got a bit of a bad rap, but don't go in expecting it to be like full of dancing. There's not really any. Because what was it? It was a ballet, but there's not really. It's not really a dancing one, but
I'm fine with that, honestly. Yeah. And then lastly, I have seen Sky High before, but it's been a long time. And that movie came out before superhero movies were like really super popular. This was pre Iron Man, I think. X-Men and Spider-Man and the Nolan Batman had started coming out, but it literally a bit before its time, but I remember it being a good movie. So I'm going to check that out. Probably not when it drops, but it'll be a nice like weekend watch at some point.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it. The ones for me were the two shark documentaries. Actually, there was a discussion going on Twitter. We were talking about all these like shark documentaries that are on Hulu that are National Geographic. Going, why aren't these all on Disney Plus? And then lo and behold, we get two. I love sharks. I absolutely love them. So shark stuff is great. Big, a massive movie. Literally, I mean, grew up. That one's such a big one for.
See what you did there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going. You know, when you went to New York and you went to the toy shop and you went and did the bit for the piano. You know, that was me. Big was one of those big movies as a kid. Literally, we just watched it so many times.
And it's fun to watch it again. I watched it a couple of years ago. And when you watch it again as an adult, you realize there is so much stuff that was going over your head in that movie as a kid. So it works both as a kid's movie and for an older audience who wants some more content like that. Not sure if I'll watch it like straight away. I'll get to it at some point. But I've seen it a number of times. Obviously, you've seen it several times as well. It really was Tom Hanks at his best when he was doing comedy before he started really going into the serious movies. If you guys out there have not seen it, definitely a highly recommended one. Plus, it gets referenced a lot. It's one of those movies where you probably don't even realize you're missing references to it if you haven't seen it.
I mean, it's literally like the other day I was down at the chip shop on the pier, and there literally was like one of the Zara machines, you know, with the and it, you know, it literally looks like it's come straight out of Big, and instantly you see it, and you know, and that's where it comes back to. So yeah, so literally even in the real world, that movie follows me. Moving on from there, we got some Disney Plus originals. We got the brand new movie Godmothered. which the trailer came out this week. Did you happen to see the trailer?
I watched about half of the trailer and I couldn't make it the rest of the way through. Not because I thought it was bad or anything like that. I think I've mentioned this before. I cannot do cringe comedy. Comedy that revolves around people embarrassing themselves. Like I can't watch Seinfeld. I can't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, The Office, things like that. And this trailer was packed with those cringe moments. I'm just like, I can't make it through this. So if you'd asked me last week before the trailer, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm looking forward to this. And now I'm like, I don't know if I can sit through this, to be honest.
You know what? See, I'll be honest. It did the exact opposite for me. The trailer did I was like, oh Godmother, is it going to be like? And I watched the trailer with my wife, and I did chuckle on a number of occasions and going, yeah, no, it's going to be a bit naff. It's going to be a bit kind of cliche, but they're taking the mick out of it a bit, and it's just like, yeah, I'm in for this. This is exactly what we need for Christmas. I'm hoping it's a lot more funnier than maybe Noel was, because that kind of didn't hit the point where I was expecting a little bit more humor from that one. So I Godmother, to me, the trailer actually made it even better for me. So
I think if you like that kind of humor, if you can sit through that kind of humor, then it looks like it's pretty solid for that. It's got a lot of vibes like Elf did. I know we said that about Noel like a year ago before that one came out, but as you said, I think it didn't go that direction.
With Noel, kind of gave off the Elf vibes because it was trying to be Elf,
right?
Whereas Godmother is not trying to be Elf. You know, she is doing the whole thing where she's gone to New York and she doesn't know anything. But from the trailer, it doesn't feel like. I mean, I know they got the whole bathroom scene and all that, but I like the fact that just of messing about with being a godmother, and you know, I think that's just cool. I just really thought that was good.
And I do like the idea of her being super excited to do this, like fully bought into being a godmother, and everyone else around her is like, I am so done with being a godmother. Can I do something else with my life? I like it on paper. Like I said, I don't think I can sit through it. And that is absolutely not a commentary on what I think the quality of the movie is. It's just
So that one's coming on the 4th. We're going to get a new episode of The Mandalorian. We're also getting 2 new shorts of The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. So we're going to get Keep on Rolling and The Big Wolf. Also, we're going to get a brand new, well, it's kind of like a series. It's Beyond the Clouds, which is a behind the scenes look at the Clouds movie. But they're chucking it in with the extras, which is like, every time you do this, guys, it doesn't get watched. You then end up a few days later then putting it on as a proper series because no one's watching it and you realize no one can find it. Don't put it in as an extra. Put it in as a proper thing. If you're gonna do it, do it. And that's going to be dropping weekly for 9 weeks, right through to the end of January. So I won't mention that one again. But yeah, there'll be new episodes every week for that one.
It'd be interesting if they put it in as an extra and then they really hype the heck out of it, and point it out and remind you over and over and point you to the extra section. It could become that kind of thing where they remind you there is an extra section, and after you watch a show or a movie, maybe you should see if there are any extras. But I do have to agree they should just release it as a series, because a lot of people are going to miss this.
If you're going to put it out on like a next thing and say, this is coming every week and there's new episodes dropping, I just remember, they've done this on so many occasions where they've put things in on the extras and within days they've moved it because obviously the data is just showing nobody's watching it, because it needs to come up on that new tab, because that's where everyone jumps straight into when you log in. I know that's what I do.
That's pretty much what I do too. Yeah. And even with the list on hand, sometimes I'm like, oh, there was a National Geographic thing I wanted to watch, but it's not on the new trending or new tab. And I'll forget about it because I'll sit down and watch something else. And by the time I'm done, I've completely forgotten about it.
Well, this is, most people don't have to spend as much time on their schedule as I do. So therefore I kind of get used to it all. But it's that thing. Yeah, I do think that it needs to be on that new tab. Moving on from there, on Friday, December the 11th, we've got Disney Channel's Epic Holiday Showdown, Disney Holiday Magic Quest. So those are 2 Christmas specials that are going to the Disney Channel. Nice to see them officially confirmed. That's actually, I think they are day and date with the Disney Channel, which is good. It just makes sense for these to be on there. Why the Disney Channel don't put out it when they put out the press release. Hopefully that will get sorted next year. So that's nice to have them on there. Then we've got Gender Revolution, A Journey with Katie Couric, which is a National Geographic documentary from a few years ago. Then we've got Ralph Breaks the Internet. So that's a big movie in itself too. Because I like that one. It wasn't nowhere near as good as Wreck-It Ralph, but I still remember enjoying it. And quite often still listen to the song Slaughter Race, because I think that was just such a, especially the one at the end. It's just a lovely song.
I barely remember the movie. I just remember watching it and saying, if I had paid full price to see this movie, I would have been disappointed because I saw it matinee time.
Yeah.
At a matinee price or a Disney Plus subscription price, I think it's perfectly fine. But I would not have been happy at a full price release. Yeah,
so I think for me, I'm really going to wonder how this ages, because again, I think my big disappointment is it didn't really cover the video game. That kind of got lost and its whole thing with the internet. But it's definitely a big movie to arrive.
I mean, the funniest part of the movie was still the trailer with that mobile game that the kid was playing and the cat pops or whatever it was. That was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that was going to be a big one. Then we're going to have the High School Musical, the holiday special. So we got a new trailer for that one as well. So it's going to be full of songs. The soundtrack is now out already. It's available on streaming services, so you get that one out a little bit early. I'll be watching this one. I love that series. It was my kind of guilty pleasure that I didn't expect I was going to like from Disney Plus. So I'm kind of looking for. I mean, it's a thing with like holiday and cheesy stuff. It's like, yeah, okay. By the time it hits like December, I'll be ready. I'm not so good on Christmas stuff in November. I'll be honest. That's my thing. I know a lot of people putting their Christmas trees up and all the rest of it, but for me, I at least like to get into December before I start like thinking about Christmas.
I think that is the one advantage that we have over here in the States with Thanksgiving coming at the end of November. It works as a very clear delineator. We are preparing for Thanksgiving. Get your turkey, get your family, under normal years, get your gathering together, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have Christmas after Thanksgiving. Obviously, there are plenty of people who still put up their Christmas stuff before, but it does make it a little bit easier for us.
Moving on from there, we got a brand new movie called Safety, which is a American football sports drama. I'll be honest, it doesn't really. I'll watch it. It's not really firing up for me because I'm not a huge sports fan. I like wrestling, but that's not really sport. I still think it's a really weird time. Yeah. I kind of. The thing is with Safety, it feels like it's the wrong time to release it. It like 2 weeks before Christmas. It doesn't feel like the Christmas movie. It's like this could have been dropped in the summer. It could have been dropped at any time. I know that I think it in some ways it maybe should have been out earlier, but it doesn't really. I don't know. It just doesn't shout to me. Let's drop this 2 weeks before Christmas.
Right. So it definitely doesn't have a Christmas vibe. It's not a Christmas movie by any stretch, but there is a strong central theme of family to it. Like once you take the football out, the main story is about the main character taking care of his younger brother, his mom getting committed, or I wasn't entirely clear what was happening to the mom, honestly. And obviously with Thanksgiving and Christmas, family is a huge thing around this time of year. So I can see it in that regard, but I also do agree this is not, at least overtly, a Christmas movie.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy to watch it. I'm happy. It's that kind of thing. Sometimes this is what happens with these movies. I go in with next to no expectations, and I usually end up enjoying it because I haven't got any. So that's I found that in the past with these kind of movies. I go, oh yeah, that was cool. Then we're going to get a new episode of The Mandalorian and 2 new episodes of The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. Moving on from there, Friday, December the 18th, we have got Buried, Truth of the Maya, Cosmos, Possible Worlds, Season 1, sorry. Then we're going to have Disney Channel Holiday House Party, Disney Parks Sunrise Series. It says here Disney's Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure Season 3, but that's already on there. So I'm thinking that's a mistake. That's you've already got it. So that one might have been a mistake. And then we've got Eddie the Eagle. Really, you need to check that movie out if you haven't seen it. It's got Hugh Jackman, and it's also got the guy from Kingsman. Really fun. I mean, I grew up with Eddie the Eagle, the real guy, who was a British superstar. So
you do like sports movies.
Well, yeah, but Eddie, yeah, but see, Eddie the Eagle. Have you seen the movie?
I've seen most of the movie. I caught it on TV, so there were parts of it I missed, but I know the story.
In the 80s growing up in England, he was kind of this, he was the anti-super, sports star. He was the everything that you wouldn't expect to be from a sports star, so he kind of, I think for me being a kid from the 80s, I grew up with him being quite, he was always on TV, trending up, doing everything. So for me, I really enjoyed seeing the story, and I thought it was done well. And I can never pronounce the guy's names, but I do like him in Kingsman and stuff like that. And I just thought it worked really. The only trouble is that one will not be on in the UK because it was distributed by Lionsgate over here, so it's not a 20th Century Studios movie over here. So that's why we'll probably won't ever get that one. I know that it's available everywhere else. And we got Into the Woods, which I remember hating when that one came out.
I haven't seen it. So
it's a good music. I mean, it's a musical, definitely worth checking out. It's got James Corden, and it's got Anna Kendrick and stuff like that. It's amazing how many times people comment about me sounding like James Corden. It's like, we're British and slightly overweight. That's about as much.
By American standards, that's close enough.
Yeah. It's like, well, okay, I'll take James Corden. It's fine. And then we're gonna get the Miraculous World New York United Heroes. So much people are super excited about that one being on there. So many comments, so much interest in that kind of this Ladybug and Cat Noir, which I know is just really, really popular.
Yeah, and I've never seen any of their stuff, but I see their merchandise around when I go shopping, and it pops up all the time. I have no idea if this is the movie to jump in on if you want to get started with them, but I'm sure if you're already a fan that this will.
Yeah.
This is a catalog item, isn't it?
Well, it was added to the Disney Channel. It came to the Disney Channel back in September.
Okay.
And so it's pretty new. It's only come out like 2 months ago. Then we're getting a brand new series called On Point, which is a 6-part documentary series behind the School of American Ballet in New York City. Again, dropping all that one. Then we're getting the Arendelle Castle Yule log. Now, it looks like it's a new version. It's been newly decorated this year. So if you want to have a nice toasty fireplace, you can put that one on, and that's be about 3 hours long. So probably a very easy thing for them to make. So they're putting that one on. Then we're getting Dory's Reef Cam. No idea what that is. I'm wondering if that is basically another screensaver with fish in it.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, the description is just dive into the waters below and watch the aquatic wildlife from the world of Nemo and Dory. That sounds exactly like it's the Yule log, but an underwater aquarium.
Well, yeah. It's kind of like one of those things you put on the background and just kind of relax. So yeah, cool. And also the Sunrise series, they were up on YouTube, and it's basically just you watch the sunrise over a theme park for an hour. That's basically it.
To be honest, any other year I'd kind of be like, whatever. That's kind of cool. But this year you're kind of like, it gets me out of the house a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like, going to Disney.
Not even the Disney part, just being outside.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest. I mean, I was only saying this, with having a pup, we go out for walks every day, so it's nice going down to the beach and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I hope it's kind of one of those weird things. Like, I know Disney World is open, but yeah, I've got no desire to go right now. But I can't wait to go back properly and enjoy it. Because we would have been on a Disney cruise this past week. And that was our original plan. And you were heading off to watch Japan.
I would have been in Tokyo right now, and I would probably be in Tokyo Disney or Disney Sea. Probably next Monday or Tuesday. I wasn't planning on going on the weekend, but in any event, neither of those things are happening.
No, so that was it. So hopefully we can get that going forward. Then moving on from there, just looking here at the list, we have got a new episode of The Mandalorian and a new episode of Clouds and The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. That'll be the finale of both of those that day. So the finale just before Christmas of The Mandalorian. Then on December the 25th, the US gets Max Keeber's Big Move. That one is available everywhere else. The big one really is Soul. That one arriving I think that's a perfect day to drop it. I still don't know why they didn't do that one for Thanksgiving, but I think Christmas Day is a good one for that one. We're also getting the Spark Short Burrow and a new episode of that Beyond the Clouds. So the big battle of this Christmas Day is Wonder Woman versus Soul. And everyone's going to, the big battle, who's going to win. It doesn't really work like that, does it? Because it's like if you've got both, you can watch both. I don't know what's going on with Wonder Woman over here, but it's a bit like, it doesn't really work like that in terms of a box. And also, they're very different audiences. Very different audiences.
Very different movies, yeah. I have to admit, I think that Wonder Woman will probably be the one that I watch first out of the two, but I'm definitely going to watch both. And I think anybody who's got access to HBO Max and Disney Plus and is interested in both of these kinds of movies will end up watching both. Probably pretty quickly after they come out.
I probably would have. I don't know. The thing is, actually, is Wonder Woman is a movie I wouldn't be able to watch on Christmas Day. I mean, I would probably. My wife, she did like the first one, but it's not really a sit down with your family. But we always end up watching Pixar and Disney movies on Christmas Day with the family. So I personally like to watch it, and watch it. But we've always got the movies on. So I think in some ways, Soul is going to probably people will have it on repeat as it's just on in the background as they, hopefully as some families get together at some way, or how much smaller than normal. But yeah, I think Soul for me actually feels more like a movie we would watch on Christmas, because we watch those kind of movies, whereas trying to get my in-laws and stuff to sit down and watch Wonder Woman, I wouldn't really want that, because they'd be because they wouldn't get it, whereas Soul, they probably would catch their attention.
And I think under normal circumstances, if I was at home with my parents and my sisters and their husbands, we would probably watch Soul as a group during the day. And then my sisters and their husbands and I would probably watch Wonder Woman in the evening, and my parents would go off and do their own thing instead, because I don't think they'd be interested in it. And no offense, Dad, but he would be asking questions the entire movie and kind of disrupting it for all of us.
It was interesting as well. They didn't mention Mulan for that on that official release, but obviously we know it's coming on December the 4th for everybody as well. As far as the UK goes, just to kind of give a little bit of an update, we have got they've updated the list since I looked. We brought a zoo. We're getting the new Prep and Landing specials. We're going to get the Disney Holiday Sing Along. We'll be getting also, we're going to be getting the Epic Holiday Showdown. Oh yeah, we're getting pretty much very much similar to what you guys are getting. Oh yeah, we're getting. Yeah, I'm just looking here. There's the only difference here that come up. We're getting Ergon on the 18th of December. But we're getting pretty much nearly everything. We're getting the Disney Channel Holiday House Parties, the Man vs. Shark. Some of them are a little bit different dates. Oh, and we're getting Walking with Dinosaurs and Epic on Christmas Day. So Walking with Dinosaurs, that's a good one.
I remember that being a really good one back in the early 2000s, and then they did a re-release like as a theatrical movie kind of thing a handful of years ago, but it was just the miniseries from years ago cut into a single narrative. It's like, I'd rather just watch the original documentary. Honestly, I'd like them to go back and do the documentary now with modern technology.
Well, I remember when the Walking with Dinosaurs came on originally on the BBC, and it was like an episodic thing of it was a massive hit. I remember it was like we all stopped watching because it was like something like we'd not really seen before. I think it was just around after like the Jurassic Park thing, so it was very much early CGI, but it was a massive thing at the time. So there we go. So that's everything that's going to be coming for the US and also the UK there. Again, the UK list, very, very similar. I like the fact that now they've actually confirmed all of the Christmas holiday stuff. And the fact that we brought a zoo. That's a movie I've been wanting to watch for a while, because actually that zoo is only about like 20 miles away from me, where they actually, what it's based on. So
it was a pretty good movie. Predictable, nothing like that you wouldn't expect to happen, but it works, and it's a solid movie, and I'm glad that it's coming over to you guys over there. It's not here, which is too bad, but maybe someday.
With these HBO deals and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I know.
So moving on from there, we've got a couple of other quick stories before we get into the reviews. It was reported by Deadline that Disney are apparently looking into moving a number of their movies over to Disney Plus, including Cruella, which was supposed to have been out in December, but they moved it back to May. That one's all filmed. That one's all in the bag. So that one's, we know that it's in the can. And then also the Peter Pan and Wendy live action movie and the Pinocchio live action movie, which will be directed by Robert Zemeckis and also will star Tom Hanks. I'm guessing not as Pinocchio, probably more as Geppetto.
He's there still. He could do both.
he could still get away with young. So that they are in talks. There's a lot of discussions of going on. I think originally Peter Pan and Wendy was going to be a Disney Plus movie, and it's jumping. I think they are looking at it right now. There was a report of like things like Black Widow, Jungle Cruise, Shang-Chi, and all that. They still want them to go to the cinema. They are looking at these family-friendly movies of going, and let's be honest, Cruella is probably not a $1 billion box office smash, right? I mean, when we're talking in these kind of like 100, 200, $300 million box office, are they more, they are just more useful for Disney Plus to boost the subscribers, to keep that push going. And then Disney Plus is becoming their main thing that they're focused on. I mean, there was even an article on Bloomberg going, Disney Plus, or was it the Walt Disney Company should be called like Disney Plus. They've switched up that they are a streaming company that has theme parks. That is the way that the stock market stuff is now looking at them. This is how the stock market is looking at Disney now, and you're just becoming a streaming service that also has theme parks and movies, which big difference. I mean, it's changed a lot since the early part of the year.
Yep, and we'll see what changes over the next couple of years, hopefully, as things kind of settle down. A lot of good vaccine news out there, so they could transition back into being a theme park theme park company. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce that one. That also does movies or push for theatrical releases rather than getting stuff onto Disney Plus. But that's still hypothetical. Yeah. Let's see what 2021 brings us.
I think the other thing as well to me is it's more about the concept of going and seeing a mid-tier movie has lost its appeal going to cinema.
Right.
And that was happening way before COVID. There is a market for these movies and people love these movies, but they aren't willing to go to them and pay out to go and see them. They want to watch them at home. A new movie drops onto Netflix or Amazon and you watch it. The idea of going to the cinema and all the rest of it, just, now you want to do that for the big epic blockbusters. People aren't going the same way. I mean, at the minute, the movies that are going on in the US, I mean, they're struggling to get $4 million at the box office every week because they're just generic. Well, not necessarily generic, but they're just movies that people wouldn't go and pay and see the same way that they used to.
Right. And that was the direction that I was heading to. I would go to the movie theater for the big action pieces because you want to experience them on the big screen with the full surround sound system and, really be in the movie. But if I'm sitting down and I'm watching Cruella or Godmothered, like I don't need the theatrical experience for that. I'm perfectly fine watching that on my screen here at home. With just the normal sound system. I don't have anything special. I've just got a sound bar. And that's fine because there aren't huge explosions. There aren't like major action sequences. There's nothing that's I need this on the huge screen.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I think this year, having got, picked up a 65-inch TV with the sound bar on, it's changed it even for me. I can feel that difference of like where I sit, it's like, we'll sit down, it's like yesterday. It's like, right, we're going to sit down and watch a movie, get some sweets in, and, the blanket on, lights, and that, and you sit there and it's like, yeah, we're going to have a movie, we're going to have a movie night. We watched a movie and then played a new version of Disney Monopoly. It was just that thing of like, have a different night of, because that's what we have to do right now, just to break it up, to make it feel different. It is just one of those things, I think, of just people's habits have changed.
That, or you could get attacked by your dog, try to eat
your
toes off.
Oh, she was trying to bite my toes off during the middle of us playing Monopoly. So moving on from there, Disney Plus would have got a massive boost in subscribers this past week because Disney Plus launched right through Latin America and the Caribbean. Loads of countries. I think about 25, 28 new countries. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out when we find out those probably numbers at the Investors Day in December. But yeah, no, this is just it's gonna be some big. There's gonna be a big jump in the amount of people that are watching Disney Plus.
I mean, anytime you add a whole new country, let alone
you're adding a whole
20 something,
continent.
basically, yeah, that's where I was going with it. When you add a single country, there's a jump. When you add an entire continent, it's a spike.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. If like, because I had an email the other day going, why do why is the Mandalorian dropping at like midnight in like LA time? And it's like, because they have to drop it at some point, sometime it has to upload, and it's never going to be good for this is a global release, and I don't think sometimes it's that thing of it's what time it is in Australia, the time it is in India, the time it is in the UK, the time it is in New York. There are people all over the place. I think something like, was it 15-20% of Disney Plus subscribers are in India, so that's there's all these different time, and also generally Disney tend to upload in the middle of the night US time so that the servers don't get overloaded. That's the big thing, because if they put it up at like the idea of putting it on at 6 o'clock at night Pacific time or in New York time, whatever time they do it is never going to be ideal, because then you're going to have the East Coast and West Coast people going, well, I can't watch it, and all the rest of it. There's no, in some way there's never an ideal time for them to do it. And I think they do it where they do it. It stops Disney. We've never had one issue, I don't think, of Disney Plus really having an issue on Fridays when they release new stuff.
Other than that very first week, no, it's been fine. No matter how big the release is, Mandalorian season 2, whatever, there hasn't really been a blip. It was just the initial launch that didn't go great.
Yeah. I mean, that's ultimately the good thing. We're a year on, and I can't even recall. I mean, we've had the odd little outage, but the idea of them, we've never had any big. I just imagine, the Star Wars finale, we're going to put it on at 8 o'clock at night or something like that. Sometimes with some of these movies, they've been putting them on a bit earlier, but yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things, but that's one thing to be aware of. So now let's jump into some of the reviews, because there's been tons of stuff out this week. So let's start off with Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, which dropped on Tuesday on Life Day. What did you think of this one?
I enjoyed it, but I have to admit I was a little disappointed with it. It was enjoyable, kind of doing the time travel, seeing all that stuff, but it wasn't as funny as most of the Lego Star Wars stuff tends to be. It had a couple bits here and there, mostly involving Poe and Finn, but
see, in my mind, if you took out that entire every scene involving them in the Falcon, it would have been a better I just like like them doing the time travel stuff. The whole stuff with them kind of doing a fake Christmas was just like, nah, this is just boring. I just didn't. It wasn't funny. I didn't find it funny, and it was like we could have trimmed off about 10 minutes of the short by getting rid of all of that.
Yeah, see, those were the parts I found funny, especially Poe and his obsession with the, I don't even remember what it's called.
Some kind of turkey.
Yeah, not turkey.
Yeah.
But all the stuff with like, oh, there's 3 Skywalkers and Vader, and he's awkward because he can't tell the kid that he's his father and stuff like that. I was like, whatever. So I don't know. It looks like we came at this from 2 different angles. I enjoyed one half. You enjoyed the other half.
It was perfectly fine. It was better than I was expecting. I was wondering at 40 minutes, is this going to drag? It's like, no, it did all right. I did enjoy it. It could have done with being a little bit trimmer around the edges.
Could have. I wish they'd gotten a couple more of the actors back for the voices, or at least tried to match the voices a little bit closer, because there were definitely some of those where it was like, that sounds nothing like that character.
Well, in some ways, well, it's like either do it or do not. There is no try. It's like a kind of weird thing. Like, well, if you're not going to use them for the majority of them, don't make a big deal of getting 2 of them back.
I mean,
of them back.
And that's hardly a problem for just this, but it's like, all right, we've got Billy D. Williams in, and he's got 7 lines. It's like, was that worth it? I don't know. Yeah. It's like when they got when DreamWorks got Jackie Chan to be on Kung Fu Panda, and you watch the movie, and he's got like 2 lines. You're like,
yeah,
I was expecting a little bit more than that.
Yes.
even if they didn't get the original actors back, I wish they had matched the voices a little bit better. Kylo without his helmet sounds nothing like Adam Driver.
Yeah.
I think Rey sounded nothing like Daisy, and
Rey. She was kind of like she kind of had a British accent, and it kind of came. I must admit, I really loved the Emperor.
The Emperor was good. I'll give you that.
I really enjoyed him as that because that was just he was just so funny with it. Like
I feel like that person has been doing the Lego Emperor for a while. The voice sounded familiar, and the way he plays the character fits with what I remember from earlier ones. So I think, that one was really good. Vader was fine, but that's mostly because he's wearing a mask the entire time anyway. So that's kind of generic. But I wish they'd match some of the other voices a little bit closer.
Yes, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed it overall. I thought it was a lot better than I was expecting. And what about the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse? Did you watch?
Yeah, so I watched both of those episodes. I enjoyed both of those episodes. Laughed at bits of them. They were just as weird and bonkers as I was expecting. Still don't like the Goofy design. I think we're well past the point where it will grow on me. That was what my my in-law told me, the one who works for Disney, was like, the Goofy design grows on you. No, it's been years now. It has not grown on me.
See, it's that kind of thing. Like the other characters, like, Donald and Daisy and stuff, they look cute and they look like the Goofy just looks strange. You just, I still, I like the second one where they were like future in the Tomorrowlands, and there lots of little nods to the attraction, and the whole thing of the cyber, the thing kind of taking over their lives and getting. I like that. I wasn't so keen on the cheese wrangling. I prefer the Tomorrowland one.
I have to agree with you on that. The Tomorrowland one was better. Plus, it had a lot more of the slapstick comedy to it, particularly as you got towards the end of it. I will say though, for the wrangling one, even though it was in the title, the cheese wranglers, when they did the reveal of they're riding on cheese and they are literally herding cheese like cows, I was like, okay, that's kind of clever. But that's what I'm talking about. It's completely bonkers. Like, how do you even think of that? Who?
Well, I suppose if you look at it from the point of view of a mouse, going out, and I don't know, it's
okay, from the point of view of Mickey, but someone has to go in there and write it. And how do you go, all right, we're gonna do a Western ranch story, but the cows are wheels of cheese instead? You're like, what are you smoking?
It's this kind of weird thing, isn't it, of like taking like basically Mickey Mouse shorts, renaming it, put it on the Disney, and suddenly give it a whole new lease of life. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I
enjoyed it.
I kind of wish in some way that they just did one a week, kind of stretch it out a little bit. I think 2 seems rather random, but
if they were 5 minutes like the previous series was for most of theirs, I think that 1 would not be enough. It'd be too short. But at 10 minutes long each, it works at 2 a week because that's basically a standard cartoon length. Like you would watch, this is the Merry Melodies kind of style. You'd watch one and then you'd watch the other with a short intermission in between. But I'd also be perfectly fine with 1 a week at 10 minutes. It's bite-sized content.
I love this stuff. This is great. Moving on from there, we had there's some other stuff dropped this week. We had Marvel 616. There was 8 new episodes of that one, and I'm just trying to. Yeah,
because you watched this not on Friday. You watched this.
I watched this. I watched this last week. I was able to watch all 8 episodes ahead because I dropped my review on Monday when the embargo lifted. So I've had a little bit longer because I had basically 2 weeks to watch the whole season. So I was able to do kind of. I know for you, and with this series, it was a very hard watch because each short. It's not even a short. They're like an hour long. So they are really in depth. It's not fluff. The Japanese Spider-Man one, they go into a lot of detail. And I really enjoyed some episodes, and other episodes I found a bit dull. And I think you need to cherry pick and maybe drop in and out. Again, this is a series which could have benefited from being stretched out. But also, if it was stretched out, you then have the other problem of if you didn't like the first episode, you might not then go back. Whereas I would say to anyone, go in there, have a look at the descriptions and cherry pick. Don't just go one through 8 because if you're not interested in cosplay, an hour on cosplay is quite a hard sell. The Japanese Spider-Man one to begin with, I really enjoyed that episode because I grew up with a load of tapes of Japanese shows with robots, and grew up with they inspired the whole kind of Power Ranger thing, and so I enjoyed that episode, but it went really in depth, and I was like, crikey, this is quite long. There's another episode where they went for about, it was like an hour and 15-20 minutes about all, and just showcasing all the women that work at Marvel and what they do and how they work and how they created Miss Marvel, and it's a very well made documentary. And then there's a whole other one which felt completely separate from the rest of the series, where a comedian is trying to pitch a Disney Plus show and ends up going after brute force and coming up with an animated series, and Disney Plus it's like, didn't even feel anything like the rest of the series. And it's honestly, you need to go watch that one. If you're only going to watch one, go watch the one that's about
you sold me on brute force. That is such an obscure grab.
Yeah, go and watch. I think it's called Lost and Found. It's completely, that could have been its own separate episode. It was nothing like the others. And there was one episode that I did that wasn't included in the which is called Unbox, which I want to watch this weekend, which is all about Marvel toys. That was the one episode that I wanted to watch that wasn't in it. So yeah, so I've seen 7 of the 8. And that was the one that wasn't in there. So I'm going to be watching that one either today or tomorrow, because obviously I like having Marvel toys near me kind of things. And so I'm really interested in that one. And there's a whole thing with Funko, and, I've been in, I used to help out, and I know, it runs the Funko webs. And it's just this whole thing of, it's really good, but it's also quite sluggish. It's a real kind of weird, it's a very well made documentary. It's not a fluff piece. It's not like the Inside Pixar where they're 10 minutes a piece. We're getting, there's 8 hours of Marvel behind the scenes stuff in that show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. I did not get a chance to watch it this week, largely because for me it dropped on Friday, and I had like 5 other things to watch on Friday. So it's like, all right, this one and the Real Right Stuff had to get shuffled off to the side. But I am looking forward to it. I want to check out the brute force one now, because I'm actually genuinely curious. How many people listening to this even know what brute force is?
I never heard of them.
Yeah, and just to be clear, it is not the Xbox game, original Xbox game. No, this is a completely different thing. It's a comic from
Jack Black.
Jack Black. Oh, the might have been. I don't know. That's the game in any event.
Because I'm sure it was recently a game.
No, that was Brutal something or other, wasn't it?
Oh no, this is a different one. Yeah, it's different. It is just a funny. Definitely, it's a weird one. The trouble is, I think if you're a Marvel Cinematic Universe fan, they might find this one a little bit trickier.
Yeah, from what I read on the description, this is really not about the MCU. This is the cinematic universe. This is about the comics. This is about the fandom around it. You mentioned a cosplay episode.
Yeah.
If you are only into Marvel through the cinematic universe, I'd still say at least give one of them a shot, because there is a lot of depth to this that you don't necessarily see just from the movies. And I'm not talking about like storylines or history of the characters. I'm talking about the creative process.
I mean, the whole thing of the Japanese Spider-Man, where they talk about how he had these big vehicles because they needed robots. So he had a robot, and they gave him a Sphinx robot. And then, why a Sphinx? Some real random choices, because at the time they couldn't get Marvel over in Japan. And and that ended up inspiring Transformers, and just a very interesting thing. So it's like I said, cherry pick, but definitely watch Lost and Found. That would be if I was watch that one over anything else.
I think that'll probably be first on my list. I don't have any desire to go back and read the Brute Force comics again. There's only 4 of them from I want to say 88 or something like that.
Yeah, it was only a short run.
Yeah, they've made some appearances since then. I think they had a Deadpool appearance at some point, but it's such a weird. It's Marvel trying to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that. That is such a deep dive.
Yeah, it was. That was the whole point of it. But yeah, Moving on from there, we also so we got the real right stuff, but I think I mentioned that one last week.
Right. We did talk about it
Yeah.
since you had watched it last week.
Yeah.
I have not watched it. I don't know if we will talk about it because we do have a pretty heavy lineup going into it. The reason I haven't watched it is it's an hour and 50 minutes long, something like that. And I was like, I want to watch this properly. I don't want to feel squeezed into forcing myself to watch it for a review. So I'm going to watch it this weekend. I'm super excited for it. And if you guys enjoyed the series at all, absolutely should check out the Real Right Stuff to find out where the story continues. And why don't we actually talk about?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I'm going to say with the Marvel, with the Real Right Stuff. For me, I came into this whole right stuff thing. I didn't know anything, so it's been a nice learning curve for me about it all. So obviously we had the finale of the series last night. I really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed this series. It's a highlight for me on Disney Plus. I thought last night's episode was very interesting. You know, it kind of feels like we've had that build up, and then it kind of happened, and then it was all the after effects for all.
Which was definitely an interesting take on it. And this is another way that it kind of separated itself from the movie, the one from the 1980s, not the Real Right Stuff. Whereas that movie is very much about the launch. Alan Shepard launch and then the John Glenn launch, which doesn't happen here at all. And this one was like, okay, the launch happens. Here's your spectacle. Here's the rocket taking off. Here's the landing. And then what happens next? Where do you go from there? And that was a very interesting philosophical take on it.
Yeah, what I really liked, one of the things for me was the big come down for Alan. It was like, and I like the whole thing of him going for. I kind of, in some ways, would have liked them to have done that at maybe like the last episode and kind of gave that a bit more time to build of him being in. But then that whole thing of him going, I was in space for 10 minutes, and it was over, and I saw this much of it, and it was not that good as I was expecting, and. It was that kind of weird thing of like, and then it was about, and that's all done. And it was like, okay, we've spent 7 hours getting here, and we spent like 10 minutes doing the actual
right. And that's another reason why I'm kind of disappointed it ends with the Alan Shepard flight, because that is the shortest flight.
Yeah.
Gus Grissom's flight is about the same length, but after that, you've got John Glenn doing 3 orbits. I think Scott Carpenter did like 17 orbits, something like that, and then Gordon Cooper was up there for more than a day.
Well, they did more than one then.
Oh yeah. They did more than one. Gordon Cooper was up there for more than a day on it. Yeah. So, it would have been great to get those. If you want to see at least the Glenn flight, I highly recommend the movie. Even if you watched the series, like I said, there's very little overlap other than like some major key points. Obviously, you can't just be like, oh, yep, Alan Shepard, he went into space. Go watch the television show for that. No, it happens in the movie, but mostly they cover different territory.
No, I'll be honest, it really piqued my interest, and I've really found this series just to be a breath of fresh air. It feels so nice, especially at the minute. There's not been a lot on TV this year, let's be honest, and for me it's been nice to have an entirely different story, something that I'm watching in other, it's not a murder mystery, it's not the normal TV series that I'm watching right now, and it was nice and refreshing to have something else going on. It wasn't, they had all the drama in there, but I thought this worked very well. It's kind of funny reading a lot of comments of people saying it's slow, it's boring, and it's not very good, and then I'm going, this is not what this series is. And in some ways it's like, I can see how it's not hitting the mark on the Disney Plus audience, because we've not been accustomed to this kind of show. The Disney Plus audience isn't, maybe is a mainstream adult show, and it's not going to appeal. If you've a bit younger, it might not appeal to you because it is very. And then they go, oh, they don't. Why they talk funny and they talk weird? It's like, no, because it's set in the 50s. Yeah, and they are properly portraying the 50s. It's not super. They're not doing it like now, and I think it is. We just want more of this. Apparently, the second season, California government has given Disney like 15 million or something like that to move to production from Florida over. So there's a very high chance that the second season is going to be carrying on. And they mentioned it in the press release about following the fact that Disney are getting given some money now. They haven't officially announced it, but very much leading to the idea of, well, they're getting extra money to make it.
Yep. And so it hasn't been officially announced. Yeah. I really hope it does. And the question will end up being, will they follow the original plan of moving on to Project Gemini with season 2, or will they pick up where they left off here and go, all right, well, Shepard's been in space. Now we got Grissom and Glenn and Carpenter and Shira and Cooper to get up there. And I'd be happy with either, honestly.
It very much feels like that end scene with her flying the plane with her daughter. It very much feels like they were setting up season 2 for that being the main thing to focus.
That, and they also had Shepard collapsing, and there was no resolution. Is he okay? Is he fine?
Did Shepard go up again after that, or was that the one time?
So he doesn't go up in Project Mercury. He was going to.
Yeah.
After Cooper's flight, he was going to go up in Freedom 7-2. He does go on a flight in Apollo. He goes on Apollo 14. Sorry, that is a spoiler, but it's also something that happened 50 years ago.
Yeah, I don't really view as much as it feels like, it's all new. It's all new to me. I'm like, what? But at the same time, this did happen 50 years ago. It's like, it's not like it's brand. It's just, as again, in the UK, we don't get a lot of, there's no history really of space in that same way. They don't tend to focus on the first American. We got it with, I think Helen was the first British woman in space, and then we had Tim. Was it Tim? They do a lot of promotion over here, but I think that's just a thing to. I'm coming in from a slightly different angle, but I just really enjoy. I really hope we get some more of this. I really recommend it. Got my parents to watch it. I said, my dad was like, "I've watched the Mandalorian." I said, "Watch the right stuff." There you go. It's just been nice having a proper show. And I can't say that enough for it. And it for all the adults, all the parents stuff. This is something you can get your dad to watch, or I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been doing that.
Yeah, and anybody who's got any interest in space or aviation should absolutely be checking it out. Just in general, it's a really good watch. I can totally understand why it's some people's not their cup of tea. It is a very different show than what you're used to on Disney Plus. But I would say don't let that deter you if you haven't tried it yet. Give it a shot. It's really well done.
Yeah, very well done. Also, this week we're getting new episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 7. So we had 2 episodes drop last week. I watched them over the last weekend, and I watched the 3rd episode last night because we had a new. So I'm really enjoying that. I watched because they're traveling through time. And again, it's like suddenly, for me yesterday, The Right Stuff, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and The Mandalorian all dropped, and I watched all 3 of them. That's quite a good lineup.
I'm interested by the fact that they're dropping Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a weekly release rather than all at once, because it's been done here in the States for a couple months now. Several months. The
thing is we haven't. It never aired on any other network over here, because usually it used to air on Channel 4 or an E4. Maybe 3 to 5 months after it aired in the US. We've had this for decades. We would have your TV shows months later. Things like Grey's Anatomy hasn't restarted. It probably won't restart till after. We usually get TV shows months after you for some of these things. I remember with Smallville, it was a 9-month wait between the start. The concept of spoilers and people getting upset and going, "Wow, you guys really we still get." Months later. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like that episode, that was the first time it's been released. So that makes a big difference for us, because up till now, I think they held it off, and then they put it onto Disney Plus. So the fact that it's on weekly, it's like, good. This is what they should have done. It should have been like this from the beginning.
Yeah, it's stupid that you guys haven't had that show or access to that show this entire time. I can't imagine why it's been holding. It's got to be some licensing reason, but it's still stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, for us, we've got because I watched the whole of season 6 on or most of season 6 on Disney Plus, because we've got all 7. Basically, we've got all 7 seasons. So I'm kind of liking it with it being dropping weekly, and we're going to have this probably right through till January. So I'm feeling like, okay, cool. I've got quite a bit of just really enjoying it. I'm just really enjoying this is I think the time travel aspect and they're integrating it with everything else. It feels like they're back on Earth and dealing with Hydra and because some of those, I think season 5 was really, really tough.
I have to be honest, I don't even remember what happened in each individual season.
I
would
think
need
season 5 they were in the future
Oh yeah.
like with the Korean.
Yeah. So I enjoyed at least the stuff that was happening in the future. I enjoyed the kind of sci-fi story that they had going on, or the Mad Max on a space station sci-fi kind of thing. I think it was the season. It was the season with the like parasite crows, which I think was the previous season. That I was like,
that was season 6.
Yeah, season 6. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, and I'm really not into it. So
yeah, it's been a bit of ever since. I like season 4. I think it was season 4 where we had like the Inhumans, and it kind of felt like it was building, and then it kind of, well, we're going to chuck them off to space because all the Avengers are doing stuff that we can't really cover because we've not got any access to.
And we need them out of the way for the Thanos snap and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that will be something I'll be watching week on week. And also we had a new episode of Star Wars: The Mandalorian, chapter 12. What an episode!
Episode 4 of season 2. I loved it. That was great. I know a lot of people are disappointed that we didn't immediately jump into the Ahsoka Tano story. We did warn you that they'd like to go off and do their side stories. But even without that, that was such a fun episode. I really enjoyed that episode a lot.
I love the thing as well. A lot of people are pointing out the fact of, I mean, there's going to be spoilers in this bit because unfortunately you can't do a TV review without doing too much. But there was a lot of stuff about fixing some of the issues of Rise of Skywalker, of this cloning and some kind of work they're doing with trying to transfer blood with Jedi with whatever's the Mandalorian. Was it Medic?
It was midichlorians.
Midichlorians.
But they didn't call it that. They called it like M count, which was much better, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, and then the fact of suddenly then it's this whole thing of, they are still after Baby Yoda, because that's kind of been kind of forgotten. Really, we've not really been focusing on that. There was a couple of things in there which was like, the engineer when they land the ship and he looks back at him, and he's gonna turn on him. You could see that coming a mile away. I was half expecting the blue guy to do something at some point.
I wasn't expecting him to betray them. I was expecting him to run away. I was expecting him to just kind of like, I will take my risks on the lava plane.
I thought he hadn't pulled it down far enough to explode because it was still above the bar. But yeah, I mean, you saw the whole double cross with them doing it. But I love the fact that they brought in the stormtrooper transport, because this is where I'm sure just John, he must have just had all these toys as a kid like I did, and never saw them on TV. And all the action figures I had as a kid are now finally getting their proper screen time. It's like, like the spider guys at the beginning, and like with a big T. I remember having, like, I used to call him Walrus Man kind of thing. This whole thing of, I had all these really random action figures as a kid, and he's using them. That big transport was a toy that they released that they never used. Like that.
So they had that, and then last year, of course, they had the troop transport as well, which was similar.
Well, it was the transport, wasn't it? They actually used it for the proper first time.
Well, this was the armored transport. It didn't have like the side doors where the stormtroopers would march off. This had turrets and stuff, and that whole chase sequence with the TIE fighters was fantastic. And
the only thing is they go really bad at shooting all of them.
Oh yeah, so bad. Well, okay, so actually, one thing that I kind of appreciated was, since they made the Mandalorian armor basically invincible, so kind of a little plot armor going on there, they can actually have the stormtroopers hitting him. Like we saw that last episode with, the minigun, where they were just like ripping into him with the minigun. And in this episode, you heard the ping as the shots bounced off his armor. It's like, hey, the stormtroopers are actually hitting the targets. That's a little out of character.
There's something about it for me. Like the minute I see stormtroopers, it feels like I'm back in Star Wars.
Right.
That when you're doing all these little animals, all these other creatures, it's like, nice little nod. It's like, but the second that we've got the Empire involved, it suddenly becomes Star Wars again. I don't know what it is. Something in my brain of just like, that is the part that thinks. The minute I see stormtroopers and them trying to get into a base, maybe it's like when you're playing the video games or anything like that. That's the part that makes you feel like you're in Star Wars. Whereas when you're in a cantina, it could be, I don't know. It's just that one thing. The minute you see stormtroopers involved or the Empire, it picks up a pace.
And there's more than just the stormtroopers, but I totally get where you're going. But like in the first episode of this season, when you see Boba Fett's armor for the first time, you're like, oh yeah, we're back in Star Wars. And you go into episode 2, which really didn't have much distinctly Star Wars, but then you're like, oh yeah, there's the X-Wings chasing after him. That's Star Wars right there. And of course, 3 and 4, with the Mandalorians, we have stormtroopers, we have Imperial transports and officers in the getup and everything. You're like, oh yeah, we're having so much fun here.
I mean, we also have the guy with the jeans. He's in there as well. I'm sure that's already now become. Did you see that?
The guy with the jeans.
Yes, there is a shot.
I missed this.
There is a shot in the series when they're all shooting, and you can see a guy, his arm with a watch and a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, and it's all over the internet. And it's like, and I've just got one of the mods from the Facebook group. Just so people are already starting to mock up toys of calling them jeans guys.
You know what? I'll have to look that one up. I did not catch that in the show, but we being Star Wars fans made up a whole thing about this character in Empire Strikes Back running around Bespin City with the freaking ice cream maker, because that's literally what it was. Yeah. And now here we are, Mandalorian season 1, and it's made an appearance in season 2. We're like, oh yeah, it's just a transport thing. Here's Beskar in it or whatever. Never underestimate Star Wars fans being able to do absolutely absurd things with stuff going on in the background. I want to look that up.
I mean, the thing is, I really fancied a blue macaroon when watching this episode.
That made me so hungry.
I'm there looking and go, they look like really nice macaroons. Really I'm there going, it's like, and then there's just a blue sick. And then they go, I was like, he had so much. It was just like, it was really fun to see, and him using the Force and getting the cookies and the stuff, and it was just like, oh, that is just good. I was just like, that's, using it, and we're setting it up because there's you just know that at some point you're gonna think the Emperor are gonna get their hands on him. They are gonna have to get their hands on him for him to team up to do something to rescue him. That's coming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're doing the same thing they did in season 1, where they're kind of setting up the characters that are going to end up in the end of the series. And those 2 friends that we had back in this episode, we've got the Mandos from last episode. All of it's going to be coming together by the end.
Oh yeah, you can just see this massive super team build up to go rescue the Baby Yoda. You can just see it coming. You're gonna have Mandalorians, you're gonna have Ahsoka, you're gonna have Cara Dune, you're gonna have the sheriff. They're all coming in.
and you look at what we've already had in these first 4 episodes. They're already, completely ramped up over season 1, which was already a pretty solid starting point. And like, if they're doing this in the first 4 episodes, I'm not even talking about like the crate dragon from episode 1. I'm just talking like, the TIE fighter chase sequence in this one, which was great, and things like that. It's like, what are those final couple of episodes going to be like?
The budget is like, it's like there is no, it doesn't feel like we're having we need to save some money in this episodes. It's like, we're getting, the kids keep building. And I think that it's just, it just keeps doing that. And I'm just really excited to see where the season goes. They are, they're fully committed to it now.
Yeah. And if this is what they're doing with season 2, presuming they look at how this season is doing viewership wise, I can't wait to see what they have in store for.
Apparently, I think it's up over 2/3 better or something. 3 times the amount. And it's like, they've got the whole of Europe now, obviously, and you've got Japan, you've got India, so I'm not a huge surprise to see them. It's growing, and the numbers are just going to continue to grow with Latin America joining in as well. And that's it. I mean, this is what we want.
Right. And with that, with the continued increase, you have to imagine that season 3 is going to get even more attention. It's going to get an even better budget for them to work with. Either way, definitely looking forward to the rest of this season and onward from there. It just keeps getting better, honestly.
Yeah, I can't push that enough. Really, it's so nice. It's that really nice feeling of after the right stuff is just finished, but that feeling of multiple shows that we're enjoying right now, and movies and so because for a while we're getting. I think that the summer was getting a little bit like there's nothing really coming on. But we've got, and then we're gonna have WandaVision right through January and February, so we have a lot.
Yeah. I have to admit, there was that stretch through the year, especially once COVID was really starting to ramp up, where we were in like a period where like there's nothing for us to talk about. There's no news. A Disney movie dropped, and it was exactly what you expect from a Disney movie. Thank you. Come again next week. And now we're flooded.
Yeah. I think it was more like things like Be Our Chef and The Big Fib, and you're like, I'm not. It's like and we didn't really pull any punches of the fact that we didn't enjoy them, but it was just like, this is what we're waiting for. Like yesterday, I had 3 TV shows to watch, which I would have watched no matter where they were, and that's what you want. That's what you come here for. Is for that kind of content.
I don't think I've personally had a situation where I've come onto the show and been like, I just did not have time to watch everything since launch, when we got all the launch titles. And this is the first time I've been like, I want to watch all of these. I don't have enough time on Friday to watch them before the show. It's a nice problem to have, honestly.
Yeah, and it looks like it might be the only one. I mean, looking at like December's lineup, you can see where they're going with this drop system. Like one original a week. That seems to be this week. I don't know if it was because of the 20th or because it was the first year anniversary. They wanted to ramp up a bit and get everything in. Maybe get some stuff on there for Thanksgiving. Maybe that was the plan. But it seemed like a very heavy week this week.
I will say that I appreciate that they dropped the Star Wars Holiday Special and the 2 Mickey Mouse shorts. Previously, I know those are special occasions. Mickey was for his birthday and the Life Day.
Was a bit of a stretch.
A bit of a stretch, but still, I'm thankful that they did it, because there's no way I would have been able to watch that on top of the stuff that I also watched today.
And also as well, they're kind of cannibalizing themselves at that point of, I think had they dropped all of them on the same day, I think Marvel 616 would have had to have been put back somewhere else. The Real Right stuff kind of made sense, but there was a little bit too much in some way. I
almost would have liked them to put the Real Right stuff next week as like, you've gotten used to watching the Right stuff weekly. It's done, but here's a little bit more.
Yeah.
I figure that they think that though the Right stuff is done, people are probably going to stop talking about it, which normally happens for shows. So let's get it out there while there's still a chance that people be like, "Ooh, I just watched episode 8. What else is there? Ooh, let's watch this."
Yeah, so there we go. So that's all the stuff from next week. Next week, we'll be talking about the Black Beauty, and that'll be the movie that comes out next week. I think that's the main Disney Plus original next week. But and also whatever news comes in during the week. But again, a huge thank you to everyone who has supported us either on Patreon or their YouTube memberships. And also just a big thank you again for hitting that milestone today on YouTube, because that's always nice hitting those kind of things. So
nice round numbers that I can't even conceptualize.
Yes. It's always that kind of weird thing of I said, like if you were to put all those people in a stadium or in a park, that's how I. Because I mean, I look at it and go, if you have 1,000 people, that's like your local arena. That's your local, theater that you go to, and that's how I visualize it in terms of numbers and stuff. Of I look at it as like venues. It's just like, that would be Wembley Stadium, or that would be Wembley Arena, or that would be my local theater. That would be this theater, and that's how I tend to look with like numbers and stuff. And
I'd much rather just not visualize it at all. That's how I keep sane. It's how I keep
it's like that kind of figure sometimes of like like here with the podcast, when you look at the numbers and think, if you put them all together, it's like you'd be sat here with everyone listening. It's just like it's a really weird thought of and I try, and okay, when we're doing this thing, it's like we're just having a chat. You try not to think about what's going on.
Nope. When we're doing this, it's just you and me talking, and occasionally I'll be like, oh yeah, I should probably clarify I'm talking to other people as well. But oh man, if we were doing this like live stream or something, I don't know how I would handle that.
No, yeah, and I think as well, it's like I say, it allows us to kind of just have a little bit of fun and stuff of what we're watching and stuff. But we're glad you've tuned in. We're glad you enjoy the show and are subscribed, and we shall see you guys in another episode. Later.